So welcome to the Health Psychology wing of the UW Green Bay Psychology Virtual Museum. I'm Regan Gurung, and I've been teaching health psychology for about 20 years now, and I'd like to welcome you to this wonderful new wing. When you think about health psychology, I think very often people think about exercising, so that's why we decided to kick it off right here in the health center with a rock and beat, no less. So health psychology, what do you think about when you think about health? One component is definitely exercise, right? And I think the key is exercise, fitness, having healthy health behaviors and good health behaviors are really important. One of the big things to keep in mind. So here's the exciting thing about health psychology, right? Health psychology is how does psychology influence our health? And when you look at health psychology can be divided up into three big areas. Stress and coping, something we all care about, health behaviors, and factors influencing illness. So I loved starting with stress and coping. That's what most of us think about in a classroom setting. If you're in college, there's a lot of stress going on. And health psychology looks at what are those psychological factors that can help us both deal with stress and cope with stress better. So a very large part of health psychology is what are those individual differences that make us more or less likely to cope with stress? What are those things that we can do or practice that can make us cope with stress better? Wonderful, fascinating area to study and talk about. The second whole area is health behaviors. And of course, this is something where all of us perform health behaviors. And I'm talking about, do you eat right? Do you drink right? Do you drink? Do you smoke? And very often, most of us may know what we should be doing, but we don't always do that. I mean, I'm a health psychologist, and my wife tells me all the time that maybe I should watch what I'm eating a little bit better. And in my defense, I do. But could I do a better job? Absolutely. And I think that's the case with a lot of us, where we know what we want to do, what behaviors we want to be practicing, but it's difficult. And so health psychologists can nicely take a look at personality factors, at situational factors, and really try and change those. So one of the big things that's exciting is you take the psychological knowledge, you develop some interventions, and we try and see, hey, can we intervene and increase certain health behaviors that are positive, decrease some health behaviors that are negative, and of course in the context of stress and coping, what can we intervene or give you practices that can help you cope better with stress? The third completely different area of health psychology relates to illness and hospitals. So for example, when you get sick, what do? Do you go, oh, I'll get better? If you have a symptom, do you recognize it? Do you report it? And if you do report it and the doctor asks you to do something, do you actually listen to what she says? Well, all of those are components of health psychology as well. Health psychologists look at hospital settings. They look at what is it about the hospital that may make it difficult for a person to go into? What makes it stressful in a hospital? And what are the ways you can change how a hospital is set up to actually help people cope and do better? For example, if your view is of greenery, apparently you may ask for less painkillers. Well, that's a pretty big deal, and I think a great example of how our psychology interacts with our physiology. So when we think about illness, yes, we can think about blood pressure and your cholesterol level, but health psychology nicely also says, let's think about the psychology and how does that psychology interact with those physiological factors.